Hey there everybody, it's Jesse, and if you remember on Friday, I said, if you want me to talk about Game of Thrones and my thoughts about how they're going to split the season, let me know. Apparently, a lot of you did. I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible. There will be some things that obviously are going to be spoilers, but mostly it'll be so people from the books, so Rob Stark, who is watching at home right now, people who have read the books will know what I'm talking about. And the people who haven't, who just watched the show, will still be pretty clueless, but you'll know what I'm talking about if you go look it up. If you want to look it up and get caught up on what I'm saying, go for it. I would prefer, if you've just seen the series, that you don't. So it comes as a shock when it finally happens, and you're like, whoop! That's what I want. But this video is not about what I think is going to happen, because I've read the books, I know. It's how I think it's going to happen when they split it, because Book 3 is split into 2 seasons, Season 3 and Season 4. And so at some point they have to split it, and these were my thoughts. I had a big conversation like I told you on Friday. I was talking with friends, and we couldn't figure out what was going to be what, and I came up with an idea that everyone was like, that's it, and I figured I would share with you, and so this is that. This is by no means going to be super silly fun Jesse. This is probably going to be like lore nerd super serious Jesse. So if you're into that and you want to see my thoughts on Game of Thrones and what's going to happen this season, by all means stick around. If not, thank you for watching the intro. Let's get down to business. Book 3 is huge, and I have notes here. I actually had to write a bunch of notes just to make sure that I got everything and covered all the different characters. So I've broken this down by characters and locations just to make it easier on all of us. But the first people on my list, because I feel like their story arc is the most important, is Robb and Mama Stark. I feel like with 5 episodes left, they have not had nearly enough time on screen in order to get everything they need to get done for the major event in their storyline that I figure will be episode 9, because usually they like to have big moments. What was it? Season 1 was Ned's beheading in episode 9. The Battle of Blackwater was last season's episode 9. I feel like this season's episode 9 will be that big moment. And I think that they have, 4 episodes left to get to that point? So they need to focus on Robb and Catelyn or Caitlyn, whatever you want to say it, very much at this point. And I want that to happen very badly, because there's a lot of story there. And in order for any of my other theories to be correct, this one needs to pay off, right? So I'm hoping that the wedding will be episode 9, and then we can have, everything else that happens after the wedding be in season 4. I think that would make the most sense. I feel like because it's such a catalyst for things, even though it'll lessen the screen time of the characters involved in season 4, it will drastically increase the screen time of characters we need to see a lot more screen time from, like Jon Snow or Daenerys. But let's actually talk about Daenerys, because I did not think they'd show this much of her story, and I'm curious what they're going to do for season 4, because I feel like she's already done a lot of the important things she needs to do, and after this, really, she only has 2 major events left, and one of them I think is going to happen this season. If you saw the flashback they previously on from the last episode, they showed Ned and Varys and Jorah with that scroll. So basically Jorah in season 1 was spying on her, and I think that might come back to bite him in the ass, and that'll probably be this season. And then one other major event will be next season. But I'm curious if they're going to stretch it over the entire season or possibly incorporate things from Book 5. And I don't know what they're going to do. I assume they're going to do that and incorporate things from future books, but I am really curious how they're going to do that. I think they will, simply because they're doing it already, and I'll get to that later on this list, but I don't know. Daenerys, I feel like most of her story will be told this season, then she'll be in a few episodes next season. But Robb and Daenerys' stories, I feel like, are going to be shoehorned into this season. Then we'll get everyone else, and I'll try to explain why here in a sec. Speaking of giving enough screen time, let's talk Jon Snow and Ygritte and Mance Rayder and his little group of wildlings. We have seen, at least it feels like, we've seen very little of Jon Snow this season. And I think the reason why is because his story is going to be the main focal point of season 4. Because a lot happens in the north and beyond the wall. And I feel like with the focus on Daenerys and the war in season 3, they can have that moment and some of the other big moments in season 4. Because really, we've just seen Jon walking around with the wildlings. Not much has happened with him. I think what's going to be the cutoff for this season with his story is Ygritte and Jon and that little group is going to hit the wall, and they're going to scale it. You saw in the trailer, like the one dude with the crazy beard scaling the wall. I feel like that's going to be included, and they're going to have that moment where that little band does that. I don't want to spoil that because it's awesome, but they're going to have that moment, and then they're going to save the big Mance Raider, I'm going to light a fire so big, like that moment for season 4. And that's going to be the big season 4, episode 9 moment. I figure that's going to be the big thing in episode 9, which I'm okay with because I hope they spend all their money on it. It's going to be awesome. And it also explains things with other characters we'll get into later. But I feel like that's what's going to be. Jon's story has been really lax this season because they wanted to include his character, like, hey, he still exists. But they don't want to shoehorn the epicness into one season, so they're going to push it to next. I feel like they're going to push that off to the side, and we'll get that next season, which I'm okay with, because it needs to have its time on screen. Next on my list here is maybe one of my favorite odd couples in recent memory, Jaime and Brienne. I love these two, and the actors who play them are perfect. I can't even say enough about the way these two characters interact, and I'm actually kind of surprised, because they hit on a lot of points from the books that I was like, thank you. Especially last episode when Jaime tells the story of why he killed the Mad King. That was one of my favorite moments, because I've told people this from the beginning. Like when the very first episode came out, I was like, look, you may hate him now, but Jaime Lannister is one of my favorite characters. And like, how can you say that? I'm sure he bangs his sister, but it's Lena Headey. I mean, come on. She's hot. You can't blame the guy. I don't condone it, but you can't blame the guy. And he really grows on you as a character, and I think this is the turnaround. Brienne gets through to him, like cracks his tough shell. This is the shell cracking motion, but let's see. So far, Jaime has lost his hand. I guess this is the international losing your hand symbol, or Degeneration X. Was that wrestling? Whatever. X-Pac, Triple H. What the hell am I talking about? Anyway, so what I think is left for him is there's one major moment left this season before they end up back in King's Landing. Spoiler, they end up back in King's Landing. But there's one major moment before that that really shows Jaime's character. And I feel like that will be maybe episode 10 of this season to show you like one really great Jaime moment. Or maybe earlier, I don't know. And then maybe episode 10 they get back into King's Landing, because there's a lot of story that happens in King's Landing, but I guarantee 90% of it is season 4. Like Jaime's whole storyline there, season 4. The things that happen in King's Landing, which I guess we'll get to next, season 4. There's so much stuff that happens there that I feel like King's Landing and Beyond the Wall will be all the season 4 stuff. It's just an easier way to cut it, but we'll see. I don't know. Speaking of which, let's actually go to King's Landing. So Tyrion, Sansa, Joffrey, the Tyrells, Tywin, Cersei, Littlefinger, all those guys. I'm convinced at this point, with 5 episodes left, that besides more scheming and talking and character development, there's only really one more major scene, and we got a glimpse of that last episode, which was the Sansa Tyrion wedding, and I think that'll be this season. I hope it's episode 9, which would be an awesome, like, cut between weddings. I'm just saying it'd be very cool. If you read the books, you know exactly how cool that would be. And I think that that will be the last part of this storyline in King's Landing. And then next season will be the Joffrey storyline and the things that happen with Cersei and especially Tyrion. I feel like season 4 will be Tyrion's season to shine again, because this season he hasn't really been doing much, and I feel like his character development and his big character moments in book 3 will all be next season, especially towards the end. I physically cannot wait for the world to see Tyrion be as badass as I know him to be. I think everyone's like, okay, yeah, he's awesome. Whenever he enters the room, he clearly has the biggest dick in the room, but just wait. Just wait. I'm just saying. Tyrion becomes amazing as a character, and I can't wait to see that. But that'll be next season. I guarantee it. Next on our list here is Arya, Sandor, aka the Hound, and the Brotherhood. I feel like that storyline with the Brotherhood is going to come to an end soon, and we're going to get a chunk of story involving Arya and the Hound. Spoiler, they things happen between them. And for those of you who are wondering about how Arya keeps chanting those names of the people she's going to kill, that's going to start paying off. So stick around with that story. It's gonna be pretty cool. But I think that's going to happen this season. And then at some point, something really major is going to happen. Again, episode 9-ish, where she and the Hound are going to be not involved, but sort of looking on at an event that sort of changes both of them. And I feel like that'll be episode 9. After that, I'm not going to spoil what happens with that story, but I think that major moment will be then. And then the rest of it will be next season. Again, super spoilers there, so I don't want to ruin it. Next on our list is Stannis, Melisandre, and Davos. Basically, aside from what we've seen, like the reintroductions of the characters, and Davos' imprisonment, and the storyline involving Stannis' wife and daughter, I guess, and the Davos daughter storyline, I feel like we've seen pretty much all we're going to see. There's one more event that involves Davos and the daughter, and that's going to be the last thing we'll see this season. The rest of the storyline will be season 4, because those characters play a major role, so major that I feel like they're saving them because they want that payoff to be really big in season 4. Again, that's why we haven't seen them this much, because I think they're moving their storyline to season 4. Makes sense to me. Hopefully it does to you if you've read the books and you know what happens. If you haven't read the books, hang in there. I love Stannis as a character, and he will pay off instead of just being a brooding bitch the entire time. So then next on our list, we have Sam and Gilly. Oh, Sam. I don't even know where to start with this guy. I feel like I missed something. If you've read the books, and I'm going to sort of spoil something here, because I feel like it happened, but I don't remember. Sam discovers dragon glass, which is basically obsidian, I think. I think that's Sam calling me right now to be like, I did, idiot! It's obsidian. And obsidian in the books can kill the White Walkers. So since Sam hasn't done anything except like crawl on the ground and cry whenever he's confronted with a White Walker, they haven't experienced that moment yet, and it's already happened, I think. So I guess they're going to change it up in the story, so it's with him and Gilly when they're alone he's going to discover this. But did he ever find any dragon glass? I feel like when it comes to Sam and Gilly, we'll get like maybe 1 or 2 more big scenes before the end of the season, and then the rest will be pushed to next season. But what I'm hoping for is, because the writers really like to have a big supernatural moment at the end of the final episode. In season 1, it was the dragons being born and Daenerys living through the fire. In season 2, it was the reveal of like, look at all these White Walkers and zombies and shit. And it was really big. I feel like this big finale could be maybe Sam using that dragon glass and the introduction of an amazing character who is one of my favorites, Cold Hands. It's not a spoiler to anyone watching the show because they have no idea who that is, but also, if you've read the books, you know exactly who I'm talking about, so I can just say Cold Hands and get away with it. I feel like that would be a great entrance to have it be the last part of the season, plus it's part of their story, and so I think that's where they'll end that, and then they'll continue on in season 4, because that'd be a big, like, what is happening moment, and I think that'd be kind of cool. I feel like that's a good way to end it. I don't know, that's my thoughts. Hopefully you think the exact same thing, or else I'm sound kind of stupid. And so then that little bit brings us to Bran and Rickon and Hodor and the Reeds and Asha and their storyline. And you've noticed they've been doing jack, just walking north. And I feel like they're going to continue to do that until season 4. Because that whole Sam storyline sort of flows into their storyline, and that's all going to take place in season 4. I feel like they're just keeping the characters involved just so we remember that the characters exist, because they need to get north eventually, right? So I feel like this season is them going north and Bran learning his powers and that kind of stuff. Now, like I said way earlier when I was talking about Daenerys, they could, if they wanted to, use things from book 4 and 5. And the reason I say that is because they already have. This goes to the last characters on our list, Theon and the Greyjoy family. Theon Greyjoy, that poor dumb bastard, his storyline after book 2, which was last season, ends for 2 books. You do not see him in book 3 or book 4. He is just gone. You hear rumors like people think he's dead. Even his family thinks he's dead. But he is essentially gone for those 2 books. And only in book 5 does he reappear. I feel like because the actor's so good, like if you saw 2 episodes ago, his outburst when he was like, my real father died, you know, that kind of stuff, he's such a good actor. And I think that's why they included him, and they moved his storyline from book 5 up. And I feel like what they're going to do, because in book 5, spoiler, he gets the shit tortured out of him. And what happens to him because of that is awesome. And his storyline, I'm not even going to spoil it, he becomes a really great character. And I feel like they're going to extend his torture and show him breaking down through this season and next season. And then in season 5, that's when maybe they'll get to, like, combine books 4 and 5. Because really, if you haven't read them, books 4 and 5 are one book split into 2. And one book covers certain characters and the other book covers certain characters. I feel like they'll just combine them because it's all movement. Not really much in the way of action happens in those 2 books. So I feel like they'll move them together into one season and then just pray that, we'll get a book 6 by the time that's done. I don't know. You got 2 years, Martin. Other than that, I think that's why maybe other storylines will be moved up. Simply because if they can do it with this character, they can do it with other ones. So maybe Daenerys will be doing much more next season, and they'll just cram her book 3 stuff into this season. I don't know. I have no clue. Really, this could throw my entire theory out of whack. But it's because of him that I think really anything's game now. But his storyline, they'll just stretch it out until we get 2 seasons out from now, because that's when it becomes really important. Or maybe they'll start the whole transformation now? I don't know. I have no clue. So I guess that's it for my list. Those are all the characters in my semi-spoilery, but not really, thoughts on how they're going to break down this season. If you read the books, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, then this should give you some idea, but not spoil it for you, I hope. And if you want really big spoilers, look it up online. I don't want to ruin it for you because it's awesome. And I hope you enjoyed this. It's what I promised I would give you. If you wanted spoilers, I guess go read the books. They're awesome. And that's it. Thank you for watching. And hopefully this Sunday will bring more awesomeness. Game of Thrones is the best. And as always, to be continued.
There was a bear, all black and brown and covered in hair. 3 boys, a goat, and a dancing bear. They danced and spun right to the fair. How sweet she was and pure and fair, and made with honey up in her hair.